to Department of the Net Education. In addition to that, there is growing concern for students' mental health well-being. The students have been online for a full year now. And as things are beginning to lighten up in terms of numbers of positive cases here on Navajo Nation, it is a belief that it is safe for our students to return. We from Department of the Net Education have sought various sources of information as we develop this plan. And part of it is information from lessons learned from other schools that have been in-person learning. So there is documentation that communities can have their schools reopen amidst high numbers of cases. What is very much promoted is that schools can employ layers and layers of mitigation strategies within the school setting to protect their students. And so with the numbers having gone down drastically from the past months, we believe that it is safe for students to return. And it allows the schools to be able to address the growing concerns about learning loss, mental health well-being of our students, and then basically to maintain engagement with academics. Some of the students who have not been able to log on have been reported to become disengaged with academics altogether. We are hearing from our state education agencies partners from New Mexico and Arizona with high numbers of students who have gone unaccounted for. And so with the right conditions in place and schools who believe that they are prepared to reopen, we believe that that is a local decision by the school boards, working in concert with their stakeholders of parents and teachers to make those determinations. I will state that the Navajo Nation School Reopening Plan does just that. As described by Honorable Slater, it gives the choice and voice to our school local governance, the school boards, to make that decision, whether they reopen or remain online. So the legislation and Navajo Nation School Reopening Plan does not compel all schools to reopen. It gives the voice and authority for local decision-making of our school leaders to be able to make that decision for themselves on the basis of need for their students. So the process that is entailed in the plan, it promotes that collaboration to take place with the stakeholders. And it seeks all information available to school leaders, whether teachers are vaccinated, whether some of their students are vaccinated, and whether their facilities are prepared for reopening. There are checklists anchored on several credible sources for safety guidelines that are accompanying documents to the Navajo Nation School Reopening Plan. So should a school decide to reopen, they work in concert with families as to which students are going to be coming back in for in-person learning. And there are thresholds across the way between these color codes and phases that has been put into place from Department of the Net Education to further guide the schools that they shall not exceed those thresholds as they identify students for prioritization and return to in-person learning. This is a document that has been vetted by Navajo Department of Health, Dr. Jill Jim, in addition to other members from epidemiology department and other doctors that serve the Navajo Nation, whether that is in our 638 facilities or IHS. We have had a hand from also the public health department of the public health nursing services as well. We have sought the input from Office of Environmental Health as it relates to facilities and safety. We've partnered with BIE facilities to also merge the criterion that is set forth here for safety parameters that schools will follow. I believe it is very much a positive move for Department of Diné Education and Navajo Nation to trust in the leadership of our school principals, of our school superintendents, and then of course the governance of those schools, giving them the voice and respecting their authority to make these local decisions that impact their students within their communities that they serve. With that, Chairman So, I will also be able to stand for any additional questions at this time.
The local BIE school board or the contract and grant school can make the local decision. The option is left for them to decide how to proceed, whether it be strictly online, the modified, or the face-to-face. Am I correct? This particular reopening plan leaves those options on the table for local decisions.
Chairman, so I'm not sure if that is a question for me, but yes, it does give great latitude.
Okay. Honorable Charlene So?
Thank you. Yes, I understood that. But the thing that I'm concerned about is during this, it's a short time here to the end of the semester. And the stakeholders are taking into this discussion with their local board members and BIE grant schools, what so forth.
You want that one too?
Is that thorough discussion really going to take place? Or is it going to be the board members or whoever to make that immediate decision?
This page. Yeah.
All of this takes discussion over a period of time, and I don't want it to be rushed. Again, some schools will not be ready to, and I understand it's just going to open up doors and give them the latitude and opportunity to do so. But we as leaders and the overseer, I feel like we still need to uphold our position and protect the students right now, the families, and keep it the way it is until the end of the summer. And according by Biden's plan, 90% overall will be vaccinated. That's what I'm looking for. And again, I'm very concerned if the schools do open, we're going to have families that are going to be going back to border towns. They're going to be bringing it back. The virus has not stopped. It gets on your clothing, it's on your skin. That's what I'm aiming at. That's my biggest concern at this point. We are in the position to halt this until we get more improving numbers, until we know for sure, yes, or because I for sure don't feel confident. Many of our stakeholders and parents are not confident. Some of these discussions will not be thoroughly sought out at the community level. And we all know that. We're going to hear concerns saying that we weren't involved in that discussion to reopen the schools. They just did it on their own. Because some of those discussions are happening now. And it's not known to all of us. Only certain of us will hear it. So, Chair.
Wishing luck, supervision committee members. Honorable Slater.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you very much, Delegate Shirley and So, for expressing concerns on behalf of our parents and our students. I would like to clarify that this plan doesn't open it up to the Wild West, where any school board can make any determination that they want without following any sort of public health orders or public health guidance. And so there's been strong communication between the Health Command Operations Center, the Department of Education, and also the Bureau of Indian Education, in particular, the Navajo Board of Education, to develop this reopening plan. And there are parameters that guide who will be making the decision. So that's, your local school board, or hopefully, county school boards listening to us. And that will inform their decision making. So they're not left in a lurch saying, well, we don't have any guidance on how to return to school, therefore we're not going to do it. It also doesn't say, okay, you can just return to school with no parameters. Rather, there's guidance supported by our public health professionals and experts. And I think that the most telling thing is that in this administration, the Biden administration, with the vaccinations, with the public health data, and I've been looking really deeply into this. They're saying that the CDC, so Biden CDC, is saying students can return and it's 3 feet. And this is a stricter plan than that. It's much stricter than that. So I just ask that everyone appreciate the diversity of experiences. And as Shimasana Misgani mentioned, we have students who have entered into severe depression for not being able to socialize. We have students who have entered into severe depression because they've fallen behind in their schoolwork. Our kids, if it's safe, need that opportunity to get out of this funk and to support their mental health and their well-being. And that can only happen if there is strong public health guidance made available to our schools. So that's what the reopening plan does. Ultimately, this is up to parents. They're the ones who are going to speak on behalf of their children. And I think one of the things that I've experienced within my communities is the number of people who don't have childcare for their children during the pandemic. And they were really at odds with the prevailing sentiment, right? They're like, well, we're being safe here, but I need some help. Either getting kids back to school, hybrid, maybe they don't live in a place where there's good internet connectivity so they can do the virtual learning. But we can't forget about those folks. Say in that household where you have poor internet, you have 2 working parents, and maybe there's the grandparents who live there. All of the adults over 16 or 18 in the household have received their vaccinations, well over a few weeks ago. Now let's say in a community that's served by a local community school. Now we have many parents who may be in that situation. So the threat would be to the kids contracting the virus, but if you still control the environment where you're at school and then at home, and you're not introducing your children to dangerous environments, you're going to be in a pretty decent situation, because you're not going to be exposing your elders or the immunocompromised within your family to the virus, as they've already received the vaccine. And again, these vaccines have like 95% efficacy. So yes, this is about balancing risk and the health and well-being of our people. But in mitigating that, we need to look at the diversity of experiences across all of our families and look at what our parents are really saying. So if we don't believe that school boards are capable of making competent decisions about the well-being and welfare of our children, then we really need to have that conversation. And I think that that's something where this one instance you can't extrapolate out from there. But if people are conveying that outside of the school board system through other sorts of political entities, then there is something we need to address there. But right now, I think we have a solid plan that provides latitude to the decision makers to make the best decisions on behalf of the parents and the students we're serving. Thank you very much, Delegate So and Chair.
Sheila, any follow-up comments on Charlene?
You know, deep down, just what we've seen in the experiences of our community, the pandemic really, yes, did take a toll on our lives, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. We were tested in all attitudes. And right now, I like how you said it's not going to be just like opening it up like to Wild Wild West. It is like that, the way that I see it. People, some of our people are still being reckless to this day, thinking that yes, they got the vaccine, that they're pretty much safe now. Yes, they are safe, but only to a certain degree. And right now, with the students, some of our people cannot control their environment. That's the problem that we're having now. If we were able to, I think that we would have stopped this virus on the Navajo Nation a lot sooner. And right now, I do have faith that some of our people will do their best to implement these health and environmental concerns and all these practices. But again, there are some that will fail to do so. And that's where we fall short. That's where we all take the fall together. And that's my biggest concern. Yes, we do leave it up to the parents. And what I'm stating today is the concerns and the opinions that I've heard over the past few days from my constituents, my school board members. And right now, yes, we have a good plan, maybe so, but that can be halted into the next school semester. Right now, I think that we have a good summer to fully strategize again thoroughly and to work, to have the community work with the parents and the students to think about how they're going to do this. Some schools are still falling behind on that capacity of how they're going to implement some of these structures. Some schools are needing to put tents up, and some are not ready to do so. And right now, I'm just thinking in that perspective right now for my constituents in District 9 too, and then far beyond my district. So, it's so I hope you do understand. Again, these are the voices and opinions that I do share from my stakeholders. Thank you.
So, and we all appreciate your position. I quite believe that's what we're about. We can express ourselves and then we try to balance it as best as we can to our abilities, to our minds, and to our thoughts. Okay. If there's no other comment, discussion, honorable call, please.
Thank you, Chair, members of this committee. This pandemic has been upon us for over a year now. And I think we come to learn now how to approach each day and how to prevent ourselves from catching the virus. In every aspect of life, whether it be in a store,
Which two?
at a game,
This one for the student. You see,
just
it's like-
going about your business each day. I think everybody is now well schooled.
Okay, okay.
They well schooled themselves on how to prevent the virus. And I don't think the school, the administration, staffs just sit around because all this time, I know that in our school district, Private Two and Page Unified, I'm aware that they have put in place everything that they can to prevent, to make sure that the students are. I think we've educated ourselves enough now that we can say that, we can avoid this virus. And again, yes, the numbers are going down. We know that. That's good news. But we also keep reminding ourselves that just because the numbers are going down, we don't slack off. We still take precautions. We still wear the face mask, wash, sanitize, 6 feet apart. Some places they're going to 3 feet apart now. But we, as the Navajo Nation, we remain at 6 feet apart. I know that there's one thing that happens once in a lifetime. It's high school graduation. And I have heard high school seniors talk about this. They want to be able to graduate with their fellow classmates. It doesn't happen 2 or 3 times. It only happens one time in their life. High school graduation. They would like to walk down the, whatever it is, down the hall or down on the football field, be able to do that. Higher education, instead of only home, what they diploma, what they update and get up. Unhindered right now. We're taking precautions. So we've learned how to approach this pandemic and how to keep each other safe. I believe that the schools did not just sit back and slack off and not do nothing. I think they're well prepared. I look at the businesses also, Slot Canyon in my area. They have had the reopening plans in place since latter part of last year. Allow us to open. And I've seen their plans. The plans are very well put together. And I'm going to use those as exhibits in the legislation that I plan to introduce. So I think we need to give our students a chance. And my main thought is give the students a chance to graduate with other classmates, give them the same experience. And again, I think we've educated ourselves very well to know how to keep ourselves safe, keep the CDC guides in mind.
Did the audio go off?
They were muted.
Yeah, a lot of audio difficulties today.
Yeah, we learn, you and I as adults, we learn, but the children don't have that same mentality. High school students don't have that same mentality. So we have to try to find a way to protect them, and the way to do it is to continue to hold up on the school year until next year again, till fall season. Well, those are just my comments right there. I know I said it already. I think that it's rushed to go back to the school, and the school year is already over. We should just let the school year end and try to start new in the fall. Those are my comments right there, and that's what I believe is that we need to not to rush this thing, because the new variants that are coming online again, and the across the nation, the virus is picking back up. Up 20% the last I heard, from where it leveled off. And I'm afraid that if we allow our students to go back to school right now, we might run into the same situation. Those are just things that I think that need to happen. I think we still need to hold off until next year and leave the schools closed and do the virtual learning until next year when they go back to in-school learning in the fall.
Sheila, anybody else? Committee member. With that, Rose, could you do roll call vote? On the amended legislation.
Right, sir. Honorable Paul Begay Jr. Paul Begay Jr. votes green.
Ones that don't play, if go back to on the fifth.
You've been muted.
I think what's happening is whoever has the microphone is also using their phone.
To
Who's saying this?
item 7B.
I just muted.
Legislation 0.
I just muted everybody.
047-21.
Right, sir, yes, sir. Legislation 0047-21, an action related to health, education, and human services and the McGee committees and the Navajo Nation Council, rescinding CO-84-20 entitled an action related to an emergency for the Navajo Nation, opposing all in-person instruction at schools intended to reopen within Navajo Nation amidst COVID-19, supporting Navajo Nation Board of Education recommending virtual learning. Chair.
Thank you. Move committee members. Any wish to proceed on this? legislation. Motion. Motion by Honorable Paluna, second by Honorable Paul Begay. Any question, discussion? There being none, how does the committee wish to proceed? There's consensus to take this legislation to the vote. There will be no amendments proposed. Mr. Mose.
Honorable Paul Begay Jr. Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Honorable Carl Russell Slater. Honorable Carl Russell Slater votes green. Honorable Pernell Helona. Honorable Pernell Helona votes green. Honorable Charlene So. Honorable Charlene So votes red. Honorable Edison J. Wanika. Honorable Edison J. Wanika votes green. Chair, a vote of four in favor, one opposed.
Thank you, committee members. That's record show four in favor, one opposed, the chair not voting. This legislation goes to the Nokia committee and to Nomination Council.
Sure. I'd be right next.
Yes, Honorable Carl Speed.
Thank you, Chair. It's my understanding that we have to be out of this location by 3:30, and the next legislation, I think, will engender substantial debate and maybe debate's the wrong word, but discussion. I would like a thorough explanation from the sponsors and the agent. Is it possible to roll this legislation to Friday's meeting? Is that a special meeting or is it a work session?
Special meeting.
It's a special meeting, right? Yeah. So could we take action on it then?
You certainly can.
I just asked Delegate Malone if that was cool.
Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., are you on the line? Honorable Raymond Smith.
Yes, Chair. So I am on the line listening.
Question has been posed by Honorable Carl Slater regarding this.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Honorable Slater.
Delegate Smith, this legislation is, I think, I, for the committee and on behalf of myself, would like a thorough explanation of the legislation and from the agent. And in order to accomplish that, or we wouldn't be able to accomplish that by 3:30 today, the space that we're occupying, we need to vacate by 3:30. So my request is that we roll this over to the next meeting, and we're going to have a special meeting on Friday. I don't think we're going to get the votes for a special council session at this point. So we're going to continue on with our HES special meeting on Friday. So respect.
Chairman, so do I have the floor? This is Vice Chair Smith. Honorable members of the Health and Education Human Services, this is Vice Chair Smith. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I plead with the Health and Education Services because this is going to be going to Budget and Finance tomorrow and also be going to NABI. And yes, if we don't have the special session by Friday, maybe we'll have it Monday. But however, this is imperative for the way that the legislation is set up, Health and Education Human Services, then it moves to Budget and Finance, and then it goes to Nabikiatia, and then final authority is Navajo Nation Council. The reason why I'm pushing this is because this will be expiring. The continuing resolution for the veterans funding will be expiring here March 31st, 2021, and there'll be no funds for veterans. We were waiting for a comprehensive budget, and I have my agent with me. If we could just vote on this, if it fails, or if you table it, it can just go to Budget and Finance Committee. I would appreciate that. Ashwada, I know you guys got to get out of there by 3:30. If you just vote on it or table it, or so we can go to the next level, and then it can be spoke on at Nabagia. Thank you.
Chair, in recognition of what my trade delegate Smith mentioned, I'll motion to consider the legislation, and we can discuss the matter at NABI when it gets there.
Okay, so in that regard, committee members, do I hear a motion to adopt this legislation? Motion by Honorable Edison Modica. Do I hear a second? Second by Honorable Linnell. Excuse me, Honorable Paul McGee Jr. And in recognition of that, Brother Cecilia Raymond Smith, the budget, I see, the main thing I see is just the veto message, but there's nothing. There's no budget attached. Amending fiscal year comprehensive budget.
Honorable Chair, so the reason why there's no budget attached to this legislation is just continuing the continuing resolution. The continuing resolution is expiring here March 31st. I'm just extending it for another quarter until they produce a comprehensive budget. It's given them a little time. It's given a little time period for them to produce this. I spoke with Speaker on this. I said, how can we help the veterans? Because this continuing resolution that was passed by CN 8820, Natamo, Beto, Ash, Ako, Haled, veterans, Kato, no, Speaker, Asa, 1/4, Nakiyal, Baose, Ako. Then the Veterans Department can make a comprehensive budget and bring it forth, and we can drop a legislation pertaining to that. This is just only asking to give that time frame, Shananta. Now there's no budget on this legislation. Shananta. Thank you. That's Vice Chair Smith. Turn the floor back over to Chairman So of Health and Education and Human Services. Thank you.
As administrator, you're muted.
Operating. collaborating with our colleague, Patel Benachet, the Craigie Craigie committee, they're going to vote on it. There's a motion and a second to adopt this legislation. But understand, I don't know if Paulson Chaco is on the call, but there has to be better explanation toward the oversight. Cuando received the datos of way weeks ago. Last week, we had it on the agenda. Kelowna was signed on as co-sponsor, but we didn't have an agent. But even last week, I don't think, is king. John Robbins and all the Mr. Swirline has to recognize that we're the oversight committee. He has to recognize that there has to be recognition of our authority. He has to recognize that he needs the support of this committee. Absent that, we have a budget that we don't even know what we're approving right now, the dollar amount. But we're doing it because you're asking us, Honorable Smith. I understand that. If one of us took a document like this to the BNF, you wouldn't allow a vote on it. And so understand that. Mr. Swirloin, understand that. Olson Chaco, understand that. You're really testing our oversight responsibilities. Our fiduciary and trust responsibilities, you're testing it. Hey, with that, committee members, Mr. Moves.
So read this first, or read this in correct.
Oh, read the legislation into the record, I'm sorry. No.
Yes, sir. Legislation 0048-21, an action relating to health, education, and human services, budget and finance, and Nabigia committees, and nomination council, amending council resolution CN-88-20, the nomination fiscal year 2021 comprehensive budget, continuing the extension of the Navajo Nation Veterans Administration budget through June 30th, 2021. Honorable Paul Begay Jr. Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Honorable Carl Russell Slater.
So just glad that this amendment presentation to section, and if you have a PowerPoint, that'd be great. So visual. Looks like most people are responding yes. So far, 65 people who said it.
Let the record show confirmed. 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. That brings us to close of meeting.
Adjourn.
Motion for adjournment by Honorable Carl Slater, second by Honorable Edison Williams. Mr. Honorable Smith, we'll discuss it at motion to adjourn. Roll call vote.
Honorable Paul Begay Jr.
Okay, that's great.
Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Honorable Carl Russell Slater.
Great.
Honorable Carl Russell Slater votes green. Honorable Pernell Helona. Honorable Pernell Lona votes green. Honorable Charlie So. Honorable Charlie So votes green. Honorable Edison J. Wanika. Honorable Edison J. Wanika votes green. Chair, a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, adjourned at 3:30 PM.
Okay.
5-0,
Let the record show a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed.
3:30.
3:30. Chair not voting. We are adjourned. We're spending another night. Get to
What was the final vote on 0046?